the workshop so far this morning. It's been a very busy morning with some really stimulating and interesting conversations and plenty of thought, plenty of food for thought for our own practice. I want to introduce today, and special thanks for coming along today. I want to introduce Dr. Donna Caldwell. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Donna, and Laura Cranston. Donna and Laura ran a workshop called Reconnecting Students with Their Career Journey. Welcome on stage, Laura, and Donna will join us now. And the workshop it was as a result of it came about from student feedback. Many students demonstrated feelings of anxiety and a sense of disconnect in relation to their employability. So the team responded by developing an extracurricular module called Design Your Career Journey, and we see some resonances yesterday of the design thinking piece that Mary Rose and myself were involved with. The key aim of this skills award activity is to help students visualize and articulate their career goals and ambitions through dedicated research into relevant industries using mind mapping as a creative methodology. This workshop will provide an overview of the student learning experience and learning outcomes, namely research skills, career ownership, presentation skills, confidence and self-esteem, critical things that were mentioned by Deirdre as well in some of the research that she presented to us as well this morning. So it'll showcase examples of some of the mind maps created by the students, highlighting informed choices for their next steps in their career journey. So just a big warm welcome to Donna and Laura, and I'll keep an eye on hopefully the clock and ask people to post questions in the Q&A, which I'll bring to the attention of Donna and Laura at the end. I think Donna's going to share the slides. Thanks. My mic and camera off for now. Thank you. That's great, Donna. We can see the slides there. Just double checking with Donna and Laura. You're still there, okay? Great, Laura, you're there. Yeah, I think we can see the slides okay. Thanks. You're gone again, Laura. Great, you're just on mute now if you want to kick. Great, thank you.
Sorry, if Donna is going to start the session, I'm not too sure what's happening with her.
Thank you. Donna, can you hear us? We can see your screen okay. We can't hear Donna. We've lost her. This is the joys of technology, Laura.
It is, sorry.
We'll get there. Worst case, I have a copy of the slides. Here's Donna now. Again, no. The gremlins in the system. Worst case, I could present the slide if that suited you, Laura. Would that be helpful? Just being conscious of time and stuff. And how do you feel about starting? Sorry to put you on there. You okay? You're just on mute there.
But yeah, if you can share them for me, I can certainly start. That's not a problem.
Get them up then. I got them this morning from. Okay, I'll do my best to dig these out now. Okay. Sorry about this, everybody. Okay, I'll share now. This might just make it a little bit easier. You won't see or hear me then subsequently. Lucky for everybody. Okay, so let me go on and share screen. Are you struggling to share? And what I'll do is, it's not that one. No, it's not that one. Okay, is that screen sharing okay?
It is, thank you. Yes.
Okay, and just tell me to roll on the next. We might leave it like this, and tell me to roll on to the next slide when you're ready to go. So I'm happy to share. I might ask one of my colleagues to keep an eye on the questions and answers, given that I'm sharing here. Maybe it's Trevor or Gavin or Kate or somebody out there. Great, we'll kick off. Sorry for the delay, everybody.
That's
Okay, lovely. Right, just getting back to in terms of the reconnecting students with their career journey. Sorry, if you go on to the next slide there, Dave. That's great. Lovely. Just a little bit of a background, and what we'll cover here is background, career planning and reconnecting our students to the employability journey, researching the various career options through using the Prospects platform, exploring mind mapping as a visual methodology, and we're touching on the skills award at Ulster, the learning outcomes and the assessment details for this particular module, and finishing off then with future recommendations that we hope to implement in our new academic year. Just the next slide, Dave, that's great, lovely. So basically just a little bit of background, well, just in sort of in the follow-on from the whole pandemic and students not engaging, and something that was very poignant to myself and Laura and my colleague Stella was that students at the end of their journey continually saying to us in feedback, I'm not too sure what to do with my degree. So really this is where this particular module was born, through a combination of COVID and not knowing where I'm going in my journey. It was developed during lockdown last June, and we ran 6 open sessions right throughout the 4 campuses online, commencing in October. The very first session that we ran, there was 202 students registered to attend this particular session. So obviously that got myself and Laura and Stella thinking that really there is a demand for this style of delivery. We even fed into the curriculum to a group of 74 students, and that was a great success. So in total to date, there's about 400 students have registered for this particular module. So just a little bit of background then. So in terms of the employability journey at Ulster, when every student registers, regardless if it's a first year student coming onto the campus or a final year student, they have to complete a short statement in relation to their employability journey. So there's 4 different categories. The first one being there is the Explore section, an Explore tab, okay? Followed by, you can just move on, Dave, that's great. Lovely. Or there's the planning stage of this employability journey, whereby the student will click on to this particular tab, and this is where they're at in their career journey. The next slide, Dave, please, that's great. Or there is an ACT platform there as well, where they can click into as part of this employability journey. And the final one then is, lovely, sorted. So I'm sorted with my degree. I'm feeling confident here. I have secured a job. I know where I'm going in this journey. That's absolutely great. And there's a link there if anybody wants to look at this further. So just to touch base on that, to give you an example, I'm a first year student, so we can just try and recap a few years back. First year student, and I'm planning my career journey. So when I click into this tab as a first or second year or final year student, this will open up to me a wide range of resources available to the student. This ranges from, obviously we're all working online, so digital platforms, our employability portal, or a new Handshake career management platform, and how they can connect with employability advisors like myself or Laura. From very outset, touching base with their career from the get-go when they reconnect with registering for their particular course on a yearly basis. So the next slide, Dave, that's great. That's lovely. So I've just covered that one, Dave. The next slide, that's brilliant. Okay, so following this career journey, so if you can imagine, the students have had the opportunity to look at the wide range of resources available and so on. What we wanted to go in on in this particular module was, we wanted them to follow this particular question. So what can I do with my degree? So whether you choose to find a graduate job, further study, or maybe take time out, there's a number of different options available. We had to hone this back into the student, and we were using the Prospects platform to do so. We wanted to encourage the student to take ownership, to plan their career, and to carry out their own individual research. The next slide, Dave, please. That's lovely. So how were they doing that? So I actually walked in the shoes, as did Laura, as did Stella, in terms of the students. So I pretended that I was a geography student studying a BSc Honours Geography at Ulster University. And when I went into the Prospects website, I can, garner this information in terms of the options, the career options I have with my geography degree. And as you can see here on the slide, I can be, for example, an environmental consultant, I can be a GIS systems officer, planner, and so on. The next slide, Dave, that's brilliant. Lovely. And also in this particular Prospects website, again, what jobs can I do? Okay, I'm studying this degree in geography, for example. I didn't particularly realize I could be a market researcher. I didn't actually really realize I could be a tourism officer. I'm studying a BSc Honours. So the penny was dropped and the student was taking that ownership of their own research. I could even go into the landscape architect field, for example. So this was opening up a whole wide range of viable options for our students. And we really honed into the students that remember that with your geography degree, there is that wide range of options. Then again, we mentioned to them about the different employers and that they could actually reach out to using LinkedIn, using the Handshake platform, using their own personal networks, to areas such as the charity sector, for example. As a geography student, I may never even have considered the charity sector, or indeed the civil service, or indeed even the police service. So that, again, is giving them that wide variety and job after my degree in geography, or indeed it could be biomed, it could be law, it could be music, drama, whatever that may be, because these students are all undergraduate students, and they were going away to do their own bespoke piece of research in relation to their degree discipline. The next slide, that's great, Dave, lovely. And also I think it was very, very important, we wanted to hone into them as well, and not only in terms of the different jobs that I can secure, but what do geography students do? What do drama students do when they finish their degree at Ulster University? So we wanted them to be aware that, for example, 58% of that particular year were in employment. 24% were in further education, for example. 4.9% were unemployed. The statistics were there. It's very, very important to showcase that and make it as realistic as possible for the student. So with their research then, that brought us onto the methodology and the mind map. And in this mind map, we wanted the student to be as creative as possible. Okay, so there'd be no two mind maps the same. We wanted the students to have fun here, going back to the learning outcomes, which Laura is going to share. We wanted them to have fun. We wanted them at the same time to be conducting their good constructive research and making informed decisions through mind mapping. Just in brief then, a mind map is a graphical way to represent your ideas or your concepts. It's visual thinking. And say, for example, maybe a law student wouldn't have had that opportunity at the university to be creative. So this is a great platform for them to enhance their skill set. And it would help them also to better analyse and comprehend and generate their own options. And central to the success of this radiant thinking technique is the use of colours and non-linear approach and brainstorming. That's great, Dave, lovely. And we explained to them, because obviously these are a wide cohort of students, so we did give them a good strong guideline. So they started in the centre of a page that could be manually or it could be digitally, and highlight the directions where they see their degree going based on the research from the Prospects website. We wanted them to have key themes and to generate the ideas from their research, to use colours and images to really personalise and own that mind map so that they can showcase that to an audience at a later date. That's lovely. Next slide, that's great, Dave, thank you. And there are a wide range of free platforms online for students to avail of mind mapping, and we provided them with these, and indeed some students even found their own, which was great, but we did reiterate the importance of, you know, free resources available to them. And that brings me on just to a couple of examples that students completed. This was a student, this was actually one of Laura's students in the Jordanstown campus that studied law. So just to give, had their career journey in the centre of the map, and they've highlighted around in white the different areas that they could actually avail of in terms of their law degree. So it's given them that stronger understanding in terms of, for example, there, if you looked at the Chartered Accountant in Ireland, they could go into the areas of tax, of audit, for example, or internal auditing. The next slide, Dave, that's great. And this is another example of a business student. Okay, a business student with marketing. So they could, for example, marketing and brand, for instance, or indeed on the other side of the spectrum, maybe go down the education route. That could be in further education, young enterprise working, for example. Also, even the idea of public relations, PR, blog writing, being an administration member of the team, into media relations, and so on. Now, whatever they put in their mind map, they had to be able to articulate and showcase that and describe at any one moment any of these areas within the map. It wasn't a matter of them just sticking this onto a screen and hoping for the best. They had to showcase this and share this with the audience during the presentation. And just move on, that's lovely, Dave. This is a year one student, a psychology student at Ulster. And this was just a sample of how creative this psychology student was. Just the next slide, Dave, lovely. So she wanted to work within the field of psychology because, and in her mind, she described why she wanted to, you know, why she actually was at university, basically. She wanted to help people, so she was personalising this whole, like the idea of studying behaviour and the mind is, she found, is very interesting. There's a variety of opportunities to look into, and mental health is very, very important to this particular student. That's great, David, lovely. Okay, she has honed in on a few key areas here, for example, sport and exercise psychology, and what that means to her, to give her a stronger understanding of these particular niche areas within psychology. And again, educational psychology here. And she's been into this in good depth, you know, in terms of working with children of a particular age. Now, very interesting what I found about this particular first year student at university was obviously salaries were very important to her. So she has highlighted throughout her mind map the salaries and the salaries that she would be expecting in the different fields within psychology. The next slide, please, if that's lovely. Okay, and this was her actual mind map. So you can see that this is actually quite messy, but that's absolutely fine. I mean, this is a student being very, very creative, and she actually presented this beautifully, highlighted websites in terms of where she would be looking a placement year for next year. She's highlighted salaries that would be expected, and something that I did feedback to that particular student was it would really be great to highlight additional skills and what skills that you have. So that was pointed out in terms of the students' feedback. And the final slide there, that's lovely. And this was the student's dream career goal, and she had set out goals. She wanted experience through volunteering and placement, and her goal too, she obviously wants to get her degree followed by a postgrad and a PhD, and her final goal there was be adaptable and learn further skills to benefit her career leadership. So you can see here that the student has really personalised and captured and had a great understanding of her career journey for a first year student, and it's really making her think outside the box. Thank you very much indeed. Now I'm just going to take it from here. Thanks a million, Laura.
That's great. Thank you very much, Donna, and good morning, everybody. Apologies for the delay at the beginning. Before I move on to talk about, sorry, Donna, could you put yourself on mute? I'm getting a wee bit of feedback. Sorry. Just before I talk about our Skills Award and how this blends in with that, I wanted to share with you some of the student reflections, some of the feedback that we've received over the past academic year, and we've been really encouraged by the positivity from our students. I know this is slightly small on my screen, so I'll maybe just read them out in case you can't really see it very well. So the first one there, which is in the sort of yellowy orange box, in the final year, the idea of graduation and taking the first step into any potential career that my degree would support has been hanging over my head like a cloud. So that was the anxiety bit that we were picking up. This activity was the perfect opportunity to blow that cloud away and form a real tangible plan to take some of the uncertainty away for the future months. So that was really lovely for us to hear, you know, students with anxieties and this activity really helping them to put a wee plan in place and be able to move forward. And then just on the other side then, I enjoyed the research side. Oh, apologies, Dave, just enjoyed the research side of this EDGE activity and the assistance it has offered me with preparing for my future. So again, it was all about handing that ownership back to the students, asking them to research their career, and it really does seem to be having an impact. Next slide. The blue one then, I find the Design Your Career Journey extremely beneficial. The coaching with presentational advice has profoundly helped my dissertation preparations, while the mind map strategy has helped clarify my mind and focus on my chosen career, which was primary school teaching, so that was lovely. And the final one then was, I was unsure of what job or industry I wanted to enter in future. Overall, the experience was really insightful and helped me to ease my anxieties regarding my future employment opportunities, while also boosting my confidence in my knowledge and skill set. I feel prepared for the future and can now start to take the steps required to pursue my chosen career journey. So I think that encapsulates what we were wanting to do. We were wanting to take away the anxieties. We were wanting students to understand what they could do with their degree, because it's not a linear pathway for everybody. And also through that process, developing certain skills or maybe being more aware about the skills that they have developed. So next slide, please. That would be great. So the next bit we're going to talk about is just about the University Skills Award, which is the Ulster EDGE Award. Next slide. And firstly, I'm just going to go across the learning outcomes of what we had hoped to achieve from the activity. So what you'll see here are the outcomes that we had hoped our students would achieve. As I said before, we wanted to place the onus back on the students so that they would take responsibility and ownership for their career journey, which was the whole purpose behind the mind mapping activity and the research aspect. So what we wanted them to be able to do was to identify and articulate their own career goals, then be able to create a structured and creative plan, okay, for an online presentation. So starting to develop some of those extra transferable skills as well, the presentation skills. They then need to present that to us in a clear and coherent manner and receive feedback on it. But overall, what we wanted to do was develop their self-motivation, their confidence and their self-esteem. And some of those feedback comments that have just gone through with you really demonstrates that they're hitting those learning outcomes. Next slide. So for our students to actually get the EDGE accreditation for this activity, we do have 5 stages that they need to complete. Now, it does seem quite time consuming, and there is a bit of an onus on us as, you know, members of employability and careers to go through each stage with the students, but we do really feel that the students get a good benefit from it. And as I say, it just is all reflected in what we see when they come and present and, you know, develop their mind maps. So stage 1 is the delivery of an initial webinar. So that will be an employability advisor. So for example, myself or Donna or some of our other colleagues. And we'll really take the students through what it is we want them to do. So we will take them through the employability journey, which was the stages at the beginning of the presentation. We'll talk to them about the Prospects website and, you know, where they can find out about what they can do with their degree. We'll talk about how to develop your mind map, and then a wee bit more about what they need to do for the presentation, etc. And once they've completed that, we'll ask them to go away and start researching and creating their mind map. Once they've done the initial research and started to think about the mind map, we'll then provide a one-to-one coaching session where we'll go through what they've done up to that point and give them some of our insight or some advice and guidance that will maybe help the next stage be a bit easier for them. The next stage then would be to come and deliver a short presentation, normally in around 5 minutes, to the employability advisor. So what we would want them to do is to talk around that mind map, highlight what their career plans are, any goals that they have. You know, we're looking at short to medium term in that one. If they want to talk about longer term goals, that's fine. And again, we'll give some feedback on the day. So whether that's around the content of their presentation, or if we pick up on anything relating to maybe their presentation style, again, we can feed that back to them to help them overall. And the very final stage then is for them to submit a 300-word reflective summary, okay, just to encapsulate everything and let us know what they've achieved through this exercise. Okay, so that's the Edge Award. And having delivered it now for the best part of a full academic year, we have a few recommendations that we'll want to put in place going forward for the students. So as they're doing their research, or as they're preparing for the presentation, perhaps they could think about a day in the life of. Okay, so if they've chosen a specific career, for example, a solicitor or maybe a sports coach, can they think about what would that day involve? Can they talk us around that in their presentation? And also what would be useful for our students then would be to take part in some type of skills audit, so they can identify what skills they already have, maybe areas for improvement, okay, that they can incorporate
Laura,
as they move forward.
To wrap it up.
Yeah, that's fine. That's my last slide anyway. So next one is just for questions then. So please feel free to enter into the chat box.
Lovely timing, Laura.
A bit rushed in the end, but we got there.
Yeah, thank you very much. We got over our technical hitch of the start. I just check if someone has a mic on. Could I get you to turn your mic off? Thank you. Just one question that's come in here. We got 2 minutes max. Is the Edge Award targeted at specific year groups or all undergraduates?
The Edge Award is for all of our undergraduate students. Okay, so regardless of your first year or final year, we'll take you through the Edge Award.
Great. And just one question, or just one more here. How did you promote the programme?
That was quite difficult given we were remote. Oh, Donna, sorry. Because we were remote working at the time, it was, you have to change how you do. Normally we'd be going in and doing class shout outs and things when we're on campus, but we really did it through targeted emails, using our connections obviously with our academic colleagues as well, and asking them to promote that out. And if we do present into classes as well, even while we're working remotely. So we did obviously promote this through our activities as well. Donna, do you have anything to add to that?
No, definitely. We had a new career management platform through Handshake as well, which was a great help, and we've got great traction through that platform as well.
Great.
to those students.
Brilliant. Listen, we're so tight for time. Listen, I want to really thank both of you for presenting your work, and congratulations on the success of it. And I'm sure colleagues here will be very interested in following up with you. And thanks for some of the resources and the links that are there. So very much appreciated. We're just going to end presentation mode here and send people back to the conference room, main conference room, where we're going to have the launch of the graduate market survey, and follow that by the HEX Awards. So we'll see you back there in 1 minute. Thank you, folks. Thanks for